I haven't made any videos in a while because my videos weren't well accepted, but I think a lot of that has to do with me not being knowledgeable about this video stuff. Hang on a second. Talk about a couple of things. First of all, this is something that is just very phenomenal that people taking kind of like for granted. The electric cars that are now coming out in the market with new models almost every day and very upscale, like Volvo 90 electric hybrid car. That car must cost close to 100 grand, if not 80, 100. Um, and it just seems that the switch to electric cars is becoming successful, and it is mandated by the president that they need to be making a lot of electric cars in the majority by 2035. Now, OPEC, who's actually an enemy, and I'm not going to go there right now, who's been overcharging us for oil for something like 60 years and just completely manipulating the American economy, overcharging for their oil. Now, I read an interesting article in a professional publication in the 70s. I don't like to mention the names of these publications because they might not like me. I don't have the authority to talk about its plagiarism, but if I don't mention it, who knows? And the magazine this is a professional magazine. It's very well written by a geologist. And he said there's so much oil on the ground in the Middle East, they couldn't possibly sell it in hundreds of years. There's no way they would ever run out. There's no shortage of oil. He said that 40 years ago. And meanwhile, OPEC has constantly said, we need to cut down production because we're going to run out. And because we want to get the gas prices to go up so that, Junior can have his Ferrari Testarossa and his beautiful girlfriend at 11 years old. And people in the United States can struggle for money and look for pennies in the pocketbook to buy muffins. But OPEC doesn't care about stuff like that. It doesn't occur to them that there was such a thing as that kind of reality from their just incredible greed. But the point I'm trying to make is that with these electric cars coming out, you're going to start seeing a drop in demand for oil. And it's going to be a huge drop in the next 5 years, especially 10 years. And OPEC's not going to be able to get diddly money for their oil because we're not going to need it the way we needed it 5 years ago, 30 years ago. I'm not going to say we flat out won't need oil. I'm saying oil consumption of cars is going to drop dramatically, and the demand for oil will drop dramatically with that. So now, OPEC. Next thing I want to talk about is global warming. I live here, I've mentioned in the past on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, United States. Now, Cape Cod is a section of Massachusetts that, if you look at the map, kind of like sticks out in the ocean. It's the peninsula. It's world famous for its beauty. And right now in January, I'm looking at the date 16th. We've had a very, very minor snowstorm today. And that's it. We're going into the middle of winter with no snow. We're going into the middle of winter with most days uh, going into the 40s and some bouncing into the 50s. It's going to be 56 this week in Boston. That'll be January 19th. 60 degrees last week. No snow on the ground, except for today. There's maybe an inch, 2 inches, but it's not like back in the day where there's always a foot or two of snow on the ground from November to April. So where is winter? Where is a severe cold winter? We had a very severe winter 7 years ago. That was some kind of a Nino Nano thing that was kind of freakish. But otherwise than that, in the last 10 years, 15 years, it's become very noticeable. Your classic New England, calendar winter, with the sleds and the dogs and the kids and the mountain, with the snow gone. Winters just are not like they were back in the day. Now, when I say back in the day, I'm talking 60s, 70s, 50s, maybe 80s, when snow in winter was, that was it. There was snow all the time. People bought snowmobiles. People bought a lot of snowmobiles. The blizzard of 78, they used snowmobiles to save people. Snowmobiles are hot. Snowmobiles are not hot anymore. You know what's hot now? Jet skis. uh, um, One of my careers is I'm a flea market vendor. I've been doing that a very long time. I was a flea market vendor at the Wellfleet Flea Market in Cape Cod going back 30 years ago. And that year was pristine. It was a pleasure to be there. I went there just to be there with the ambiance and the beautiful skies and air, and people were so happy and dressed in summer clothes and laughing and having a great time. And it was a treasure just to be there in Wellfleet, which I still love, by the way. That was 30 years ago. 2 years ago, I'm at the Wellfleet Flea Market. 60 degrees, 100% sunny, so hot. I had to leave at 10 a.m. And when I got home, I had sun blisters, swollen uh, face, classic sun poisoning. Now, the thing about Wellfleet is that where it is located is on near the tip of the Cape near Provincetown. We have the ocean on one side. We have Cape Cod Bay on the other side. And they both reflect up into the sky like a triangle. And those rays come back down into the ocean from the sun, and then they reflect back up to the ocean to the sun, back and forth. You can see what we have here. We have a magnifying glass, which made Wellfleet legendary back in the 50s and 60s and 70s for tourists, mostly professionals that come from Boston, because it's very expensive to rent down there in motels. Wellfleet was legendary for the place to go to get the best tan you could possibly ever get on a beach. And they go back to Boston or to and say, "Oh, look at the, oh my God, where did you get that tan? Oh my God, oh, the Wellfleet, Massachusetts. Oh, it's so beautiful. I love your tan." I'm not making fun of people with tans. The point I'm trying to make is that pyramid created that vortex in the sky and had a magnification of light and heat, especially sunlight, because it wasn't hot 30 years ago. But now what's happened is the pollution has come in, from around the world because they don't follow industrial corporations, don't follow the laws, have polluted the skies. And now with that magnifying glass I just talked about, and your pollution on top of it, in it, it has become more and more magnified. And it has become to the point where it's unbearable to be on Cape Cod in the summertime. And if you think I'm making up stories, the amount of dealers the Wellfleet flea market have dropped from 250 to about 125 in the last 5 to 7 years, still dropping. And I talked to, outside of my experience, I talked to a dealer there at another flea market, and he was a successful dealer. I asked him why he left. He said it was too hot. I couldn't stand it. And he's talking about Cape Cod. He's not talking about New York City or Boston. He's talking about Cape Cod, legendary for its atmospheric ambience, where it was too hot. You couldn't stand it. And I had the same experience. The atmosphere was polluted. And it's creating this experience. That's enough for today. Jesus saves. Have a great day. Bye.